right, so I'm going to move my c value, right? That way we have x's on one side, c on the other. All right, so we're going to have x squared minus 2x equals negative 13. Then what? Good. Then we're doing our b over 2 process, right? So my 2 divided by 2 is, what's 1 squared? 1. Good. That was an improvement from yesterday. We all thought it was 2. All right. So we're adding 1 to both sides. We got to keep it balanced. All right. We do that so that now this will factor. How does this factor? Good. X minus 1. Negative 13 plus 1? Negative 12. Careful with the basic math there. And now it's just like the square root method. Take the square root of both sides. So we get x minus 1 equals square root of negative 12. Say that again. Good. That's going to give you 2i radical 3. Don't forget your plus minus. Does anyone need to see the factor tree on that, or are we okay there? We're good? And then last step, get x by itself. 1 plus or minus 2i radical 3. Doing all right? You guys are hard to read this morning. All right, number 12. Wait, I don't have to move anything? No, this one started out I don't have to move anything. I already have x's on one side, c on the other. All right. So we'll start right in with our b value is 10 divided by 2, 5. And then we square it. 25. Okay, so we'll add that to both sides. We do that so that this will factor. How does it factor? X plus 5. Again, there's my plus. There's my 5. Good. That gives me negative 5. Well, this problem doesn't seem so bad compared to the last one, does it? All right, from there, square root. Just I radical 5. Good. Not forget those plus minus, guys. And then to get x by itself, subtract 5. So negative 5 plus or minus I radical 5. How did we do on those? Great. Doing better? Is it starting to click a little bit? Do you notice every time I ask what the next step is, all I'm doing is reading your pink sheet? Make sure you get in the habit of looking at that, guys. It tells you step by step what to do. All right. For today, we're going to focus more on the ones where we actually have an a value, right? That second step that we need to actually divide by. All right, so same idea, though. We're going to follow the pink sheet today. So your second number 11, sorry about that. What's the first thing you want to do? Add 80. First step is still to move that c value. So 5x squared plus 20x equals 80. What's your second step? Divide by a. Now, when you're dividing by a, we are dividing everything by a. I don't care if it goes in pretty or not. You have to divide everything by a. This one's nice. They actually all divide. So x squared plus 4x equals, is that 16? All right. Now what? Good. Your b over 2 stuff. So 4 divided by 2 squared. Good. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Both sides, right? Uh-oh. Did you divide by a, hon? If you don't divide by a, the whole process does not work. It's out the window. You have to do them in order. You can't do the b over 2 stuff before you divide by a. Because the b over 2 stuff, that's completing the square. That's making it so this is a perfect square. And you're not going to end up with the same thing when you try to factor if you still have a 5 sitting here. So you can't do that. So we have to get rid of the a value, then we can do the b over 2. How does this factor? Good. X plus 2 squared equals 20. Then what? Square root. plus 2 equals, good, good, plus or minus 2 radical 5. And then your last step, get x by itself. So negative 2 plus or minus 2 radical 5. So today's focus is not terrible. You just have to remember you have to divide by that a before you do the b over 2. Think alphabetically. A comes before b. So do the a stuff before you do the b over 2 stuff. All right, so number 12. What do you want to do first? Good. We already have the c moved on the other side, but we need to divide everything by 3. If you have an a, we have to get rid of that. So x squared minus 6x equals 15. Okay, and what? Good. My 6 divided by 2 squared. So add it to both sides. All right, we do that so this factors. How does it factor? Perfect. X minus 3 squared equals 24. Darn basic math. Then what? So we get x minus 3 equals, perfect, plus or minus 2 radical 6. And then add the 3. 3 plus or minus 2 radical 6. You think it's easier? Oh, some of them don't divide so nicely. But are we getting it today? It's all matters. All right. Why don't you guys try 13? Try 13 on your own. All right, what's the first thing you did on number 13? Add the 14. So 2x squared plus 8x equals positive 14. Then what? Good. So x squared plus 4x equals 7. Then what? 4 divided by 2 is 2 squared. If I add it here, yeah, you're not the only one doing that. Katie did the same thing back there. Yeah, you got to keep it balanced. All right, how does it factor? X plus 2, not plus 4, but plus 2. 11. And then? Good. That got kind of weird in there, and we're talking at the same time. All right, we feeling a little better with all this? Coming together a little bit? Good. All right, guys, take a look at 14. What's the first thing we want to do? Subtract the 5. 4x squared minus 12x equals negative 5. Okay, then what? Divide by 4. So we get x squared minus 3x equals negative 5 over what? Over what? 4. Yeah, so dividing by 4, it doesn't divide nice. Just leave it as fraction, okay? It doesn't divide. All right, that's where most of you freak out because there's a fraction in your problem. All right, what's your next step? Good. 3 divided by 2, and then I square it. Good, so we're going to add 9 over 4. And again, at this point, I know some of you just hate fractions and you don't know what to do with them. Use your calculator, okay? If you're at a point where you just don't understand fractions, use your calculator today, okay? How does this factor? Good. There's your minus. There's your 3 over 2. Right, negative 5 plus 9 is 4, so it'd be 4 over 4, which is just 1. Again, if you don't get fractions, you typed it in wrong. All right, from there, square root x minus 3 halves, square root of 1. Thank you. Plus or minus 1. And then some of you are still struggling right here when I move this over. Do you see how there's no radical or no I? Right? So you know you can put these together. So we're going to have 3 over 2 plus or minus 1. You cannot just join those and put plus minus in front of your answer. What is 3 over 2 plus 1? 1 and 3 over 2. That just is weird. Right, so you would either tell me 5 over 2 or 2 1/2 is the same thing. I'll take either one, it's fine. And then what's 3 halves minus 1? It's half. So 5 halves and 1/2, or 2 1/2 and half. Yes. Yes. Yep. And you should do 2 separate problems when you're doing that. Yeah, Riley? I added 3 over 2 plus 1. It'd be like 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2 would make it 5 over 2. If you type it in your calculator, it's probably going to give you 2 1/2. You can hit second ABC, and it'll flip it for you too. All right, so there was one fraction. Are we doing okay with a fraction? We got a calculator. Don't panic if you can't do fractions. Holy smokes, look at that one. Holy smokes, what do I do with that? Good. Okay, so remember your first step is x is on one side, c on the other, right? So move your x's on one side, c on the other. So I'll have to subtract 2x squared. You're going to have to minus the 7x. And I'm going to have to minus the 1 over here. I'm going to do it all at once because I can. A little line for a space. You can if you like. Whatever floats your boat. All right, questions on that first step? Your first step is x is on one side, c on the other. So I literally just kind of move stuff and put like terms together. Good. Then we're going to divide by 3. Everybody excited to see a fraction over there? So x squared minus 3x equals negative 1/3. It's just a number. Nobody panic. What's your next step? Good. Your 3 divided by 2, which I can't do anything, and then square it. 9 over 4. So then we'll factor this. How does this factor? Okay. Again, there's your minus. There's your 3 over 2. Negative 1/3 plus 9/4. What? Good. It would be 23/12. Again, right now, take a minute. If you've not yet tried it, grab your calculator. Let's type this in. I want to make sure you know how to do it. On the graphing calculators, Ramon, as you're typing that in, you're going to have to put this in parentheses. You'd have to hit parenthesis, negative 1 divided by 3, close parenthesis, plus parenthesis, 9 divided by 4, close parenthesis. So I need you guys to practice. Did you get something? Okay, then hit the math button. It's over on the left side. Hit math, and then choice number 1 says to fraction. Just hit enter on it, and then hit enter again. Good. You're welcome. Again, if you're just grabbing that graphing calculator, parentheses. Take a minute, try it. We want to make sure that we can use your calculators correctly. So you got to put parentheses around fractions in the graphing ones. Did you get it? You got decimal, then hit the math button. It's over on the left side. It says math. and then it's already on option 1, which says the fraction. Hit enter, and then hit enter again. Perfect. How are we doing? You have to hit divide. Fraction just means divide. All right, guys, from here, what do I do next? Katie, put it away. Good, we take the square root. Thank you, top and bottom. So x minus 3 over 2 equals. Very nice. Hold on. Let's time out 1 second. I know where you're going with that. Just hold on. All right, guys, take a look at what just happened here. All right, we took the square root of both sides. Remember with fractions, yeah, we're not done yet. With fractions, we got to do them separate. 23 is prime, so there's no pairs in that one. We did our factor tree on 12. It became 2 radical 3. A lot of you are like, wait, I can't do it. You're right, you can't do that. You got to get rid of that radical 3. So top and bottom by radical 3. 5x minus 3 over 2 equals, plus or minus, radical 69 over, it'd be 6. Because radical 3 times radical 3 is 3 times 2 is 6. Just extend your page. And last step, we got to move that. So 3 over 2 plus or minus radical 69 over 6. So pretty much everything I've taught you just kind of showed up right there. Did you guys notice that? There was factoring in there. There was completing the square in there. There was a square root method. And there was rationalizing your denominator with all the radical stuff. Like, everything was right there. You see how everything kind of interweaves together in math class? It all comes together. Tell me that it's not the cutest little puppy you've ever seen. Good. Good. I heard he bit a lot of people, though. Like, he nipped at them. Like, not bit hard. All right, questions here before we move on to the next one? That's not my dog, no. My dog was in on Monday to get a haircut, though. Nope. I need to move the 15 first. You got to look at your pink sheet. What's it say at first thing? It says you want x's on one side, everything else on the other. So I got to add the 15. So 5x squared minus 3x equals 25. Now I'll divide by the 5. Yeah, guys, follow that pink sheet. We got to move stuff first, okay? Divide by 5. Minus 3/5 x equals 5. Now, this problem confuses more students than any other problem. All right, are there questions to there, though? Hopefully we're okay to that point, right? We moved the c stuff over, divided by my a. Jessica? Okay, what is your next step? It's b over 2, right? So my b value is 3/5. What's 3/5 divided by 2? 3/10. And then we square that. Now, the reason most students struggle, though, is they're like, oh, 3/5, it's already fraction, I don't have to do anything. You still have to divide that by 2, okay? Dividing a fraction by 2, you just multiply the bottom by 2. Did you notice that? 5 times 2 gave me the 10. And the reason being, for those of you who want to know, 3/5 divided by 2 is the same thing as 3/5 times 1/2. You multiply by the reciprocal. So really all you're doing is multiplying the bottom by 2. But again, if you're like, fractions, I've said goodbye to those years ago, grab your calculator, type it in. Okay? All right, so we get 3/10 squared. What's 3/10 squared? So I'm going to add 9 over 100. Oh, this one's pretty, isn't it? No, it's really nice. It does. All right, but I just want, I give you examples like this so that when you get a problem similar to this later, you don't panic, right? You've seen it before. You've seen an ugly problem. You know it's possible. All right, factor. Can you imagine if I just gave this to you and said factor this without teaching you the shortcut? You guys would cry a little bit, wouldn't you? That's ugly. But how do you factor it? Piece of cake, right? X minus 3/10. There's the minus. There's the 3/10. 5 plus 9 over 100? 509 over 100. This is great. Okay. So then I take the square root of both sides. So top, bottom. X minus 3 over 10 equals. Is there any? There's nothing. It's radical 509 over 10. 5 plus 900. Because if you're adding, you'd have to have common denominators. So you'd have to turn this 5 into a common denominator with 100. So you'd have to multiply the top by 100 and you'd get 500. You don't cross multiply. You only cross multiply when there's an equal sign in between them. Do you agree with me that 500 over 100 is 5? This is the same thing. Plus 9 over 100. Common denominators. So 500 plus 9 is 500. You have to have common denominators when you add fractions. Oh, heaven forbid we walk up one flight of stairs. Oh my gosh. All right, and then just move this to the other side. So 3/10 plus or minus radical 509 over 10. Is it pretty? No, definitely not. Okay, good. She said I would have thought my answer was wrong if I got something like that on my own. Now do you know that they'll be ugly? Yeah, so don't panic if you get something that you're like, what the heck is that? Okay, it happens, guys. So maybe highlight this one, star it, circle it, be like, hey, look back at this one if I'm feeling like I'm doing something wrong. That's a good crazy one to kind of reference back to. All right, are these my last two on here? You hope so. Let's take a little break from it. All right, so number 17, what's the first thing you want to do? Move the 12. So we'll get 3x squared minus 9x equals negative 12. Okay, then what? Divide by 3. Is this going to be an ugly one? No, they actually all divide nice at the end. X squared minus 3x equals negative 4. I mean, it's not terrible. At least they divided nicely. Then what? Divide by 2. Right, so we have 3 divided by 2, which doesn't do much. Squared. What's 3 halves squared? Good. So we're going to add 9/4. All right. How does this factor? Good. Again, minus. Here's your 3 over 2. Negative 4 plus 9/4. Again, practice. If you have the calculator, practice it. There you go. All right, what is negative 4 plus 9 over 4? It would be positive or negative? Negative 7/4. Guys? All right, so double check. Make sure you're able to get that. Negative 4 plus 9/4 is negative 7/4. All right, what's your next step? Square root. So top, bottom. So we get x minus 3 halves equals plus or minus. Perfect. All right, the negative under here comes out as the I. 7, I can't do anything with that. Square root of 4 is 2. And then your last step, just move that over. So positive 3 over 2 plus or minus I radical 7 over 2. Yay! That's what I want to hear. Ramon? I heard you say 25/4 up here. You lost your negative sign. A positive 4 plus 9/4 is 25/4. Yeah, you just lost your negative sign. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You can you can divide by a first. What happens though is sometimes you get ugly fractions to start with, whereas if you'd have moved it, you wouldn't get them. You'll end up at the same spot. A lot of times I just find it, I'm dividing by less things if I move it first. No, no. As long as you move C and divide by A at some point before, but you have to do those before you do the B over 2. Yep. Riley? Right here? Right here. Negative 4 plus, because if you had common denominators, right, this is 9/4, so this one would have to be put over 4, and right now it's over 1. So this becomes negative 16 on top, right, because negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. Then negative 16 plus 9 is negative 7, common denominator. Again, if you're not great with them, calculator, okay? Yes? That's okay then. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. But at this point, like in here, you're not going to want it because we have to take the square root of stuff. Yeah. Yep. All right. Number 18, last problem for the day, guys. What do I do first, Ramon? Good. All right, one step at a time here, bud. So when I move that, what's 2 minus 40? Negative 38. All right, so come on, let's give everybody else a chance. You're not wrong. I just want to give everybody a chance to write. Okay, so we move the C value over. All right, then Ramon, what do I do next? Good. Divide by my A value, which in this case is 2. So x squared, oops, plus 5x equals negative 19. The b over 2. So my b value is 5 divided by 2. Good. So we're going to add 25 over 4. All right. So make sure we do it to both sides, right? Both sides. Okay, good. How does it factor? Jessica, put it away. What is negative 19 plus 25/4? Negative. I'm trusting you. I didn't do that. I couldn't do that math in my head. Negative 24. Okay. If you did not get that, double check that you didn't forget your negative on your 19. Then we take the square root. Top, bottom. So x plus 5 over 2 equals. I can't do anything? I'll leave it like that? Plus or minus I radical 51 over 2. But you're right, there's no perfect squares hiding in there. No pairs. All right, and then we can just move this. So negative 5 over 2 plus or minus I radical 51 over 2. Yay! Oh, we have homework. Of course.